There we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. My name is Sam.
My name is Manas.
And thank you for joining us again this week. We've got a great episode for y'all today, planned more than a day in advance this time.
A fun one, I think.
Yeah, a great one, I would say.
Yeah, I actually learned a fair amount just doing like little bits of research for it. Like,
yeah.
We came up with the topic and, hey, I need to learn more about this. So I'm really excited to start talking about it. I guess this one was your idea. I'll let you say what we're doing.
Yeah, so we talked about intro stuff to the gym. That'll be 2 episodes ago. And just kind of expanding on that, figured we could talk about outlets. Once you get like lifting and you go into the gym and you've got that pattern down, there's obviously a variety of different ways you can take that. So some people just want to improve their health, strengthen the joints, keep the mobility up and working, and that's an excellent goal. Totally fine.
Absolutely.
But then there's some other avenues, some other channels if you want to specialize or find community. And I think that's going to be kind of the focus, is like these are communities of different lifting styles and different lifting philosophies. And I don't know, but just like that, kind of the different ways you can go when you've decided that fitness is going to be one of your primary personality traits, like we have. So, to that end, we will be talking about, and this is like kind of overview-y, address some of the fun stereotypes, you know, and discuss kind of the family.
Yeah, this is a very surface level view of what to expect. We're not digging deep into them, because with the amount of things we're covering, if we want to dig deep into each of them, this will end up being just a mini series. It has to be hours on hours, and I think if we get a fair amount of people coming in and saying, "Hey, like, can you tell me more about like, let's say Olympic lifting in particular?" Then we can dig deep in and be like, "Hey, so let's cover the lifts in more detail. Let's cover what actual competitions look like, what rules are, the federations, all of that."
Oh yeah, that's it.
There is a lot we can dig into. Right now, that's just here's a glance at your options. Here's where you can go.
So we'll be talking about bodybuilding, CrossFit, powerlifting, strongman, and are we doing Olympic weightlifting? A little bit of that today.
Yeah. Okay. A bit.
So and again, just very like introductions to what these are, and if you're looking for some way to apply your lifting, if just going to the gym isn't real, you know, if you want to either get into competing, because all of these have competing elements in them, or if you're just looking for a community, you like different styles of lifting more than others. I mean, each one of these has its pros and cons, and again, we'll give some good introductory information into each and what we like about them, what we've done, what we wouldn't enjoy doing, you know, just open this conversation for people who.
What would we want to do? You've been listening to us for a little bit now, starting to get a feel for our personality. So, hey, what would we personally want to do? Where are we planning on going personally? And then I don't even know how more to espouse that other than just like if you're curious about a bit, look at the timestamps.
Yep.
Jump to that section.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
All right. What's first on the list?
All right. So when I was looking at this, I kind of cut it into 2 categories.
Okay.
The second one of which has many subcategories. So first off, there's bodybuilding, and then on the other, I just threw it in as strength sports.
I like it
because the way that I looked at it, in terms of bodybuilding, you are not judged based on what you can lift.
Yeah.
Now, what you can lift may be paramount to the things you're actually judged on, but that is not your direct measure of success.
Yeah.
However, everything else that we're talking about, so Olympic lifting, powerlifting, strongman, CrossFit, like if we're going to call that your like 4 more mainstream strength sports, obviously there are more.
Yeah.
And we will touch on more.
Yeah.
With those, it's directly just, hey, what do the numbers say?
Yep.
Which I think that is a pro and a con. on one hand, bodybuilding can be much more subjective, where you're looking at it and just the measure of success isn't a number.
Yeah.
Like powerlifting, either your lift went up or it didn't.
Yes.
Bodybuilding is not quite as simple.
600 pounds is 600 pounds is 600 pounds.
Exactly. And so depending on, I think that's a pro and a con. That's personally one of the big reasons why I oh my God, I'm about to say this on podcast for the first time. Why I'm hoping to and planning on getting on stage in a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's a very strong pro for me. And also, depending on who you are and what you have going on in your life, can be a con.
Yeah.
And that also, like, when I say that way, I'm scared it sounds that, like, I'm saying it's a bad thing about you if this is a con for you. No, it's just different people express their competitiveness in different ways.
Yes.
And some people would rather have the, like, heavy weight I pick up. Hell yes, I can't.
Yeah.
So, and I guess before we get into strength sports, is there anything about bodybuilding in particular that you want to talk about?
Well, I guess it's quickly defined if this is the first time you've ever heard of bodybuilding. So bodybuilding is kind of exactly what it sounds like. You are sculpting your muscles to look a certain way, to be judged by a panel against other individuals who have done the same. And there are a plethora of weight classes, so to speak, or different physique achievements. The primary regulating agencies, the IFBB, International Federation of Bodybuilders, they put on the Olympia, so that's the places where Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronnie Coleman,
C-Bum.
Yeah, Chris just won men's class and men's physique. Ramy just won the Olympia this past year. But so that's the highest levels, the IFBB and the Olympias that they put on.
When you go to a person on the street and you talk about, hey, I like bodybuilding or I'm a bodybuilder, that is how the sport is defined in their mind. You look at the IFBB pros. That's it. That said, there's, especially recently in like the past decade or so, it's existed for a couple of decades, but I think it's just really coming into the mainstream now. There's also been this push in national. There's this push in natural. Thank you, bodybuilding. And so something like the IFBB, it's gonna have. We talked about this a bit last week. Ramy uses roids.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Totally fine.
That does not take away from the achievement at all. However, there also are federations that you can compete under that have drug testing.
Yep.
And so the only reason why I'm just really quickly want to highlight that is there are multiple ways to compete in this sport.
Yep. So that's most of what you'll see kind of Instagram fitness model wise, that's normally the path that, at least for the men, that they kind of fall under is the bodybuilding aesthetic. And again, there's a lot of different classes, a lot of different ways to look. But again, if you think of, oh, that guy's jacked, that's well-defined muscles, separations of the various heads and
the serratus of a great white shark.
Yeah. Like when I think that it's probably the most recognizable form of fitness outside of like like basketball, football, soccer, that sort of stuff. It's probably the most recognizable form of like the fitness sports is bodybuilding. And it's a great place to start for sure. I mean, I definitely started on bodybuilding.com.
Oh yes.
Following shout out Steve Cook's Big Man on Campus program. But that's where I started. I think it's a place a lot of, especially guys, start is bodybuilding. Because that's the classic look of 6-pack abs, wide shoulders, big chest, big arms, that kind of thing. But like you said at the start, it is aesthetics focused. So the amount of weight you can lift isn't as important directly to the competition. However, obviously, to get bigger muscles, you have to lift weight.
Yes.
And the more weight you lift, There's
there is a correlation. Yes,
we can base for the generalization of this statement. The more weight you lift, the bigger muscles.
Yes.
Again, obviously, there's cliffs and peaks and blah 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 blah. But
that's once again just like the rest of this episode. That's a surface level take, and then there's complexity. That I'm sure we'll be talking about in later episodes, especially. If what I just said does come to true in a couple of years, I am looking at getting on stage, and there's a whole discussion to be had there. Yeah,
but the base of bodybuilding is aesthetics focused in its competition as opposed to like numbers, whether that's weightlifted, time in which you completed something focused.
Mm-hmm. And so that's under my little classification. That's one of those two avenues. The other, strength sports.
Yep.
And so in there, it was really hard trying to define, hey, what do we give a lot of attention to and what do we not? And I just kind of looked at, okay, what's the most mainstream? And so I was going to talk about Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman, and CrossFit kind of in that order. Okay. And there's a thing in my head where it makes sense for why you talk about them in that order. So first off, Olympic weightlifting or just weightlifting. It is the only strength sport that is in the Olympics, and you are only judged on two lifts, the snatch and the clean and jerk. So
we have video. Can you briefly demonstrate the snatch and the clean and jerk?
I'm not sure I can.
Oh, yeah.
Not well. Not well.
We have a ceiling above us, so I can't pick anything up. But so snatch is you go from barbell on the ground, you lift it up, and then you drop underneath it, then you stand up. And then clean and jerk is from the same starting position to here. And actually now I'm thinking of clean jerk and press. So it might just be from here to here. Here's the thing. I don't really know what I'm talking about.
It's Olympic weightlifting is the one that I was alluding to earlier in the episode where I'm like, I know this exists.
Hold up. I have technology. We can look this up.
There we go. Where that was the one where it's like, okay, I know this exists. I know very, very base level things in there. I was kind of surprised to learn that you're actually only judged on two things.
Yeah.
I noticed that they really tended to practice these two things, and so naturally at some point I should have drawn these two. But in terms of your training, a lot of times it's just these two, and then lots of squats and other after you've got that foundation.
Yeah.
Just very successful movements to back them up. Let's see, what else can I talk about while you're pulling this up? Ooh, a lot of value is placed on speed and mobility.
Yeah.
Because especially with the movements that you'll be demonstrating in a second.
Yeah, I actually got them both right, by the way. I just looked
awesome.
I was correct.
There we go. So, I guess, for those that are joining on video and were able to see his motion, and for those that weren't, just quick Google search will pop him up.
Quick Google.
So, because of that, the faster that you do those movements, the more weight you can move.
Yep.
So, there's the emphasis on speed. Also, obviously there's a load on your elbows and your knees, but these motions also put a lot of stress on your shoulders and your hips.
Yeah.
So
because that explosive, you got to drive through.
So in terms of competition, those two lifts, you get 3 attempts at each of them. The highest of your 3 that you successfully hit are added up. That's your score. There are specific form cues, as there are another thing. So, locking your arms out, waiting for the down cue before dropping it. Again, we're not going to dig too deep into that because that would be an episode in itself.
Yep.
Just competition rules.
But so Olympic weightlifting, again, in the Olympics. So if you have Olympic aspirations and you're getting into the gym, hey, there's your goal for Olympic stuff. So,
congratulations, you no longer have an option. This is your only choice.
If I like picking up things and I want a gold medal, well you got 2. Got 2 things you can do.
If you want a gold medal that has those 5 rings on it, here you go.
My uncle is a certified Olympic weightlifting coach. I remember I found that out kind of recently. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because when everything when the pandemic started, he had like weights and stuff in his house, and he would like send me videos of him like snatching in the garage. I'm like, lucky I don't have to do push-ups and run around a lake like a peasant.
So I personally really only looked at this because our buddy Iron, shout out Iron, hey bud, he started getting into it, and I'm like, wow, like, for knowing this exists, I don't really know much about it. And then we came with this episode, and I'm like, okay, no, I really don't know much about this. I need to. However, moving to things that I actually do know about. So,
Powerlifting.
All right. So, once
you sadistic
again,
bastards.
Once again, in terms of competing, you have 3 attempts at each of your lifts.
Which are
the bench press, the back squat, specifically the back squat.
Yes.
You cannot front squat. And the deadlift, where I will take a quick note to say, if anyone tells you that you can't pull sumo in a competition, tell them they're a goddamn liar.
They are dirty, dirty liars.
I really don't know why sumo gets all this hate, but...
Well, because it's one of the, like, as with all, and there's a lot of, you can draw a lot of comparisons to these communities prior to now, because it's gotten better, and OG martial arts communities, where if you were a Taekwondo practitioner, you only did Taekwondo, you did not touch judo, you did not touch karate, you didn't touch BJJ, you only did Taekwondo. So similarly for these communities, again, it's gotten a lot better recently, as we talked in the other episodes, but they used to be very insular and were very protective of the specific things that they did. So conventional deadlift, that was like the king. Like that's what you did.
Do it.
Yes. And then when sumo comes along and they're like, hey, this has benefits too, and it's a little easy on your back, and it's easy for people with, shorter legs but longer torsos. And then it's like, no, but then now it's better. Like, it's cooler now.
And also, like, so even from like my own personal experience, okay, I switched to only doing sumo. We're recording this on the 24th, so I've now been doing 24 days of, if I'm deadlifting, I'm only pulling sumo.
Yeah.
I've also switched to only doing low bar squats, and I've started doing hip thrusts, and I'm like, all my lifts go together now. Yeah. The things that give me a stronger squat will also give me a stronger deadlift.
Yeah.
A little more directly.
Yeah.
Because my lower back is terrible. We're working on it. But yes, so the 3 lifts are the bench press, the back squat, and the deadlift. You get 3 attempts at each of them. Just like Olympic lifting, there are like weight classes.
Yes.
I think the most interesting thing to me about it is the raw versus the equipped divisions.
Yes. So I guess for those who are uninitiated, and there's nothing wrong with that, raw refers to you're only allowed. So there's different paraphernalia and
great word.
and Iron Man style suits you can wear that essentially keep your body in one piece as you try to rip it apart with weight. I think the most familiar of these for a lot of people is the lifting belt. Again, you put it around your middle. Yeah. It helps you brace your core. For raw, you can wear a lifting belt, knee sleeves, and like elbow sleeves. Again, just to protect the joints. Yeah. And then what was the other? Equipped? How do they call it?
Yeah, equipped.
Equipped there is a suit you can like squeeze yourself into. Again, it's from like here on the arms, goes down to like upper thigh or right above the knee, kind of on your legs. Yeah. And again, it just really keeps you together. Yeah. And that is for, and again, that doesn't take away from the fact that you're squatting or deadlifting or benching normally over 600 pounds at this point. It's just,
seen people deadlift 1,000.
I saw a guy squat 1,000 pounds wearing one of these things. It's insane.
You can put me in that. It is not a literal. It is not a literal Iron Man
exactly.
suit. I will not be able to do it.
Yeah, but it gives options for people in the manner that they want to compete.
Yeah. There is a fair amount of crossover. Like you'll see people compete in both of them, and so it's just, hey, what am I competing in for this specific meet? And that, I guess the biggest thing that kind of strikes out to me between the two of those is and this is probably just entirely due to the Olympics. Powerlifters are so welcoming of competition. Like, if you're at a meet and someone's in first and you hit a lift that beats them, that guy's probably going to come up and dap you up for it. There's still competitiveness, but there's also that sort of welcoming sort of, okay, like, dude, these are all
awesome. Psychopaths. Yeah, they all have to stick together. I say that lovingly. I love every single powerlifter. There are also a ton of leagues, organizations you can compete in. Yeah. So it's not kind of how like the Olympics is just that, and that's the only place you can get a claim. And then again, because it's so results driven in the sense that either you picked up the weight or you didn't, it's like it is the epitome of you're competing against yourself. And I mean, all these, with the exception of, I guess CrossFit and the Olympics, you really are just competing kind of against yourself. Yeah. There's no one else up there with, you're the only one on the platform, and, you do your lift and then you rest for 7 hours and then you do your next lift. And
I think that's one of the best things about it. Like, we've talked about this in earlier episodes where that is the attitude you should have. Your only goal should be, am I better than I was a month ago? Yeah. So like right now, I'm in a cutting phase. Okay. Am I leaner than I was a month ago? All right, mission successful. Let's keep it going. Yeah. Same for like if you're in a hypertrophy phase, or like whatever you're doing, just the second you start obsessing about what other people are doing, the second you start setting yourself up to go to a very bad place mentally. Yeah.
And because there's not a ton of money in like the direct competition of the sport, that lends itself to an extremely friendly environment where it's like, you didn't, take like you're competing, but it's like it's really just kind of for cred. Yeah, this your
isn't
own.
Like in most cases, I should say, this isn't I will fail to put food on the table if I do not win this. Like getting second place because you hit this lift means I won't make my mortgage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is normally not the case. Yep.
This is great for. I mean, obviously women can compete in all this, but this is one that's exploded with chicks recently for sure. I've seen a huge jump in the amount of ladies participating and killing it in powerlifting. And they can. There's some. I mean, Steffi Cohen jumps to mind on Instagram.
I was just listening to an interview with her. She's incredible.
Oh yeah, I think she's like a doctor too, right?
Yes,
like she's smart as hell.
She is. Yeah. She's got a PhD, and I'm pretty sure she's got a DPT as well.
Yeah, she's legit. Yeah, as legit as they come.
She's incredibly smart. Like knows this stuff inside out.
The Maddie
and also is like at the top of her sport as a competitor.
Yeah. There's a ton. So this is exploded again with women recently. So if you're a lady, one of our 3 women listeners.
Actually, no. I was looking at the stats this morning. Oh, yeah? Only 73% of our listenership is male.
Oh, lit. Okay,
which
so
I expected that to be much more one-sided.
But yeah, so if you're looking for something to get into, obviously any of them, but this is a great one with an exploding community of ladies killing it in powerlifting.
Yeah, which, all right, so we've talked about Olympic lifting, we talked about powerlifting, following that trajectory, strongman. So strongman uses a lot of the movements seen in powerlifting. And a lot of the times when you look at their training, there is just similarly incredible amounts of heavy squatting and heavy deadlifting. However, in competition, in conjunction with those sorts of things, there are also various objects that are moved or held for a time. And this is when it just gets really fun to just sit down and watch.
This is
just in terms of human achievement.
After CrossFit is my favorite to watch, mainly because every year they put out that dope like video of the whole thing. Yeah. But yeah, these competitions are probably some of the most entertaining because they are doing just like the most bizarre things with the most bizarre objects. Yeah. Like obviously they do the deadlift. And this will be your Hafthor Bjornsson, Eric. Hold on.
Eddie Hall.
Eddie Hall. Brian Shaw. Robert Oberst. These kind of guys. Just literal mountains of men. And they do their deadlift, but then they have like Atlas stones, which are just giant balls of concrete that start at like 250 kilos and then go up to like 6. It's insane the amount of weight.
Heavy enough.
Exactly. They pick up cars. Like I've seen them like lift up like VW bug frames and walk with them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's a lot
farmers
of
walks with cars.
Yeah, it's a lot of load carrying stuff.
The keg run. Log presses. The keg toss is always fun.
Yeah. They did this I think a couple years ago. Rogue has put on a World's Strongest Man competition recently, and they took like 50-pound sandbags and had to like toss them over their head, something like 30 feet in the air. Yeah. Like it's like you don't think that's a lot, but then you realize like how hard it is to like take a 25-pound plate, all right, or actually 25-pound medicine ball. Let's be safe here.
There we go.
25-pound medicine ball and throw it, jump and throw it as high as you can, and then double that weight, and you have to essentially kettlebell swing it up and over your head, and that's the kind of stuff they were doing.
It's a sandbag. So it no longer wants to work with you.
No. It wants to fall. Every bit of it is falling as you're trying to throw it up.
So yeah, the two biggest competitions for that are the World's Strongest Man and the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Yes.
I think my personal favorite thing about this, everything else we've talked about this way, like up to here, has its weight classes.
Yeah.
And obviously this does too. However, both these competitions have their open body weight category.
Yeah.
Where that's where you get all the names we just brought up. And then just
because they're all 400 pounds and like only 12% body weight. It's literally insane.
And so you're sitting around like, okay, like, you know all those memes where people talk about, hey, like, let's just see what humans are capable of?
Yeah.
Those are only memes because people don't watch this.
Exactly.
If you want to see what a human is capable of, watch this.
You want to see someone deadlift 1,000 pounds? Yeah.
Yeah, we have the sport for you.
Hafthor Julius Bjornsson did like 1,052 in the last one.
Insane.
And like that is half a ton for those sitting at home. That is a lot of weights.
Yeah.
And I mean, and he made it look so easy. It's insane.
It's
But yeah, so this is and again, I have a buddy. Shout out Isaiah Limitas. I don't think you're watching this, but he was like 4 or 5 years ahead of me in school, but my grandmother had him, so I knew him. My grandma was a teacher. But he was competing in strongman stuff, and there was a lot of I saw him posting on Facebook, I mean, it's literally in a parking lot. You know, again, another super open, super inviting community. Yeah. They were doing like the kegs. They'd, again, pick up kegs, walk them across the way, have to put them on top of something and do that for repetitions. Actually, I think he won something, so shout out to him. But again, another thing with like super open community, a lot of local stuff you can find and get into if you just want to compete. And then obviously, and the tops of the sport are with those two events. Excuse me. But yeah, if you like, this is one of those like farm strong guys. Like if you grew up like carrying bales of hay, or like if you worked construction, so you've been like dealing with offset loads of like you got a bucket full of paint in one hand and bricks in the other. This is the top of that ladder.
Yes.
Of kind of, let's call it functional strength. Even though at the extremes, like there's no reason you need to pick up a VW Beetle frame and carry it up a hill or whatever. Unless you're like a really dedicated mechanic, I don't know. I am fixing this car wherever you are.
Well, when the tow truck needs to be towed.
Yeah. No, it's like they'll drag like fire engines.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it was a jet, but it was some gigantic. It might have been a jet where they like strap a chain around them.
Yeah.
They give them a rope to grab and pull themselves because that's the make or break, and they're just driving with their monster legs.
Yeah, it's insane. All right, and then to cap off our little overview, we have CrossFit.
They're fun to make fun of, but we do it with love. We do it with love because
they're the little brother of the group.
At the top of the game, these are some of the most in shape individuals, shredded year round. I mean, the women, like this is personal preference. The most attractive women on planet Earth, in my opinion, are at the top of the CrossFit game. It's I don't know. It's primal. They're just, I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know why it is the way it is. I think my brain's just like, because there's like hot where it's like, oh, she's pretty and, but then there's like, hey, dummy, your children will survive the winter with her. So how about that one? It's like literal primal stuff. So That's a personal thing, but like again, we make it's an easy one to kind of poke fun at because
they lend themselves so easily to be made fun of.
Yeah, well, again, it's I guess we'll start with what it is, and then we'll get into why it's so fun to make fun of them lovingly, with love, obviously.
So CrossFit is actually a brand. CrossFit is a branded fitness regimen. It is a trademark of CrossFit Incorporated. Just founded by Greg Glassman, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, Lauren Janai. The current CEO of CrossFit Incorporated is Eric Rosa. So, like, any sort of event that you see that has the name CrossFit in it is either run by or sanctioned by them.
Yeah.
So this has elements of powerlifting and strongman sport in it. It also has some of its just like entirely own distinctive stuff, which you've watched the CrossFit Games more than I have.
Yeah.
You're probably more able to speak on that. I guess in a quick pro con of it, and very quick one sentence on each front, just to kind of like give an overall view of it while like still being unbiased. One, it is fairly heavily criticized for just the amount of injuries it can receive, not necessarily will receive. Just because at times people are given loads that your body's just not ready to keep up with yet. However, I do think, like, while that is a stereotype, and while it's very easy to make fun of your friends who do it for that exact reason, it is unfair to try to say, hey, if you do CrossFit, this will happen to you, especially when you look at like people that succeed in sport and do well. These are just some of the most stupidly athletic people you will ever see in your life.
The title is fittest on earth, and that is, I think, well earned.
Very deserving.
I think it is a beautiful way to phrase the collective skills and conditioning and strength you need. So and they put out, I think every year they've done the games. They held annual games. Even this past year, and they did this cool open format. But every year they put out, it's been on Netflix, and sometimes I think this one was on Amazon Prime. But they put out like like an hour and a half, 2 hour long kind of documentary style thing that just goes over the games, covers the events, the primary figures in it, and it's some of the most motivating stuff. Like, nothing gets me like more hyped to be in shape than watching these men and women absolutely kill it, because it's everything from deadlift ladders to like half Ironman stuff, like not a full half Ironman, but they'll do like a 2 mile swim, then a bike ride, then a run. Like it's literally just anything to test your physical acumen. And it's really cool because it gives people of a variety of backgrounds an opportunity to compete. So the current 5-time reigning men's champion, Matthew Fraser, one of the most inspirational dudes. He's just a baller. His background was in Olympic weightlifting, and he's not a super tall guy. Like I think he's like 5'8" or something. But it's like, so that's not a hindrance in the same way it would be in bodybuilding, where like it can benefit you to be 6 foot, something like that. Same thing with like the strongman stuff. Again, all the people at the top are giant human beings. Like, so you can be of kind of any size and stature and do well in the CrossFit games at that high level.
So I would give some partial pushback to what you said. I definitely agree with like for example, strongman, especially like you want to be the athlete that defines your sport in the same way that like currently Matt Fraser does. You have to be just a giant human being. Bodybuilding actually is the one where like I think like when you look at winners, and where did I see this? I think I was listening to a talk with some of the team members from 3DMJ. And they're like, like almost everyone falls fairly well into like population averages. Like I
recant my statement.
Like 5'9", 5'11". You'll see winners at like 5'6", 5'7". I'm trying to think. I think, let me pull up Arnold's height, because even in his case, I mean, he's a tall.
I think he was like 6'1" or something. Okay, so I'll pull back the height thing. I guess what I was trying to get at was, there's not a standard, like, you have to look like this to do well in CrossFit.
Yes.
And your background can be extremely varied.
Yeah.
He had a gymnastic background, and a lot of those athletes have some kind of gymnastic background because that's incorporated in it a little bit too.
I think that just makes sense with like the sort of load that's placed on there.
Yeah.
And gymnastics would prepare you very well in terms of having your joints be able to handle this sort of load. However, if you're aware of this, like, you don't need a gymnastics background to go into it. Just, hey, be aware, okay, it receives criticism for unnecessary injuries. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? I need to take care of my joints. Watch out for my back. Like, that doesn't mean you can't compete. You just keep these things in mind and then go do it. If this is what you like, go do it.
Yeah.
And CrossFit especially comes with a very, like if you want to just immediately jump in and feel like you're part of a community.
Oh yeah,
CrossFit,
dude. Those they're the gyms are called boxes, and they are, again, like all of these. But again, this too, sometimes almost cult status can be very.
There we go.
And again, that can kind of fall into the criticisms. Again, that's a fun one to make. None of them are actually cults, but there definitely is a large amount of pride in your box and competing for. I mean, the CrossFit Games has a team option to compete as a team, and more than just doing the individual stuff. With the injury stuff, that's just, again, my uncle I've taught him, I'm like, hey, what do you think about it? He's like, well, a lot of those movements aren't really meant to be performed ad nauseum in the way that they do them there. And that's been brought up to the people who do it, and they're like, yeah, it's what, and like you said, they're just, okay, so we train, we stay safe, and, we know the risk. And that's kind of a lot of it. It's like, if you know the risk and you're willing to take the steps to protect yourself, and when you have to, like, because there's been a couple people who were doing very well in the games recently who had to pull out because of injury. Yeah. And that's, I mean, as a competitor, that takes a lot to do. So it speaks to their character and their kind of mental understanding of themselves to go like, okay, like, this sport is all about pushing through that pain. Yeah. Because the competition's 3 days straight. Yeah. Like, it's insane.
It's surreal.
But then to know that limit of, okay, no, this is more than just that, oh, I got to toughen up kind of stuff. This is like an accident injury. So again, credits all the men and women who can get hurt and to a point where they're like, okay, I got to stop, and then actually do it, and don't injure themselves in that catastrophic way that, again, you see on kind of the gym fail stuff where
yeah.
And again, it's like, if you don't know how to perform, because they do Olympic lifting, they do clean and jerk, they do snatch. If you don't know how to do that and you just try it, like, that is a recipe for a lot of injuries.
Yes. And so, like, if you're coming in new, one, you're going to immediately be just hit with a sense of community. Like, you will very quickly be accepted in there. Not to say that's not true for anything else, but, for example, like, you just wouldn't necessarily have, like, an exposure to powerlifting competitors if you're, like, pulling below 135 and, like, learning to deadlift.
Yeah.
That's very important. That's your foundation. Everything else gets built on it, excuse me. But, like, here you're just going to have, like, an exposure to people that are further along their journey a lot faster.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, you have the opportunity for people to be welcoming to you faster, which they will be.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't even think I have anything else to say on on CrossFit specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do.
No, it's fun. Every section of this, bodybuilding, strongman, CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, they all, like, it's a fun, especially now. Again, a lot of stuff has changed recently with the advent of social media and being able to communicate and just how much more exposure you've gotten. But there's a lot of fun joking back and forth and kind of playful teasing that goes on because it's fun. Like and bodybuilders are meatheads, CrossFits all get injured, powerlifters take 1,000 years to perform their sets, strongmen chew rocks. Like it's like, but it's all in fun. It's all in jest because like again, we talked about this I think episode 1. Anything you were doing to improve your physical fitness, your health and well-being, doing it safely, you're knowing what you're doing, A+, 100%, go for it. No complaints, no judgment.
It's like when the way all these groups make fun of each other is the same sort of thing as when you're starting to get to know a group of friends, and the second they start making fun of you, I'm in now.
I'm cool. Like,
there we go.
They like me enough to make fun of me.
There we go. And so there's the big four. I'm just gonna go ahead and invent that real quick.
The big four is strength sports.
There we go. There are other ones. There's at that point there's too many to go through. I know there's like kettlebell strength competitions, which those are incredible, and just don't know enough about it to start rambling about it. Highland Games, I like personally would love to try sometime.
Yeah,
because it looks like a lot of fun. And I'm not planning on going in and trying to win anything, but okay, like get a couple years into it, and hey, let's put on a kilt. Hang out with some of the guys and see how far my body can just toss a log.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural. I mean, the sports and cultures go back to literally whenever we crawled out of the pond or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of different. I think just about every single culture has some kind of athletic competition, sports thing. I mean, there's Senegalese wrestling. There's Dagestani basketball, which is just basketball without dribbling and you tackle and wrestle each other. There's a Highland Games. I mean, it's, it goes on and on. So, again, our kind of goal here was just like, I guess, the American, at least the ones that we know well, just kind of those big ones, just to give you some options on if you want to direct your focus, directing training. Again, find a community because, maybe you're going to the gym and you're like, I like this lifting stuff, but, I want to, develop some friends in this, either whether that's for consistency and sticking with the purposes or just like, you want a community. That's awesome. So these are just a couple. And to get involved with them, I mean, go to your local gym, ask your local bearded gorilla or whatever your equivalent is at your gym, a person who looks like they know what they're doing. Obviously, online, you can look up local competitions.
Online, there's a lot of communities. And I think really just across the board, we kind of like touched on this where like with CrossFit, you have an opportunity to just like, you're all in the same box, you're all doing the same workout a day. So you get in there and then, okay, well, like the guy next to you's been doing this for 7 years already. That said, with like any of the others, like if you came up to someone and it's like, hey, like this is where I am, I really like what you're doing, I would like to do this myself someday, you're gonna more likely not get a great response.
Yeah.
Like, you come to someone and be like, hey, like, I'm deadlifting X. I see you're deadlifting Y. Yeah. How do I get stronger?
Which, if you do that to a guy that is going to make his month, he will hold on to that compliment for the rest of his life. Do it even if you don't want to do anything further. Just be like, hey, man, you're looking good. You're lifting well.
You want a good deed of the day?
Yeah.
Tell someone their lift looked great.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, regardless of which one you want to go down, including bodybuilding in there, like, if you have an idea of, hey, this is what I might want to do, just going up to people already in that community, you will more likely not be accepted.
Yeah.
And especially, like, if you're coming in with an open mind, you will be accepted.
Yeah.
At that point, there's no more likely or not. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just a quick overview of some of the different avenues that, you started going to the gym. You listened to us 2 weeks ago. Tried it out. Now you're 2 weeks in, all right. But I like this. Let me start trying to find a community.
Yeah.
This won't necessarily find your community for you, but it's the beginning steps of, okay, like if the stuff we talked about with Olympic lifting sounds really cool to you. Okay, what do I follow in order to, like, I liked this. Now I know what to look up more.
Yeah. Just let you know what's out there if you didn't know, and now you do.
All right.
Like it?
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. Again, episodes are out every Wednesday. Interact with us on all social medias, everything at ULA Podcast. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your continued listening, and we will see y'all in the next one.
Have it going.
I'll just let it run.